At Dave Cooper Live, we connect the industry leaders in the architectural, engineering, and construction space with the people, the products, and the processes to help them build it better. Welcome, everyone, to a special edition of Dave Cooper Live, where we continue to shine the light on Mental Health Awareness Month. 1 year ago, an unimaginable, unthinkable tragedy swept through the entire Windover construction organization. You're not going to want to miss this one. It may help you save lives in your organization. We're going to get right into this after a word from our sponsors. Forward Solutions Group is successfully driving companies to succeed where others have failed. Are you looking to start a factory, optimize your existing factory, streamline your production, or take your team to the next level? Whatever your needs are, Forward has a solution for you. Reach out to Ben at forwardsolutionsgroup.com. Halleck Ltd. has a long history of innovation in cold form steel manufacturing and producing innovative precision roll forming technology for customers throughout the United States and the world. Check out their machine buyer's guide for off-site modular construction or fast build construction with light steel for framing. Go to their website, halleckltd.com. Brought to you by Greatech, one of the largest Autodesk partners globally and software developer of the PowerPack Advanced Design, Advanced Steel, and the StruxSoft product line. The complete solution to automate wood and light gauge steel framing, design and documentation, all the way out to CNC output. Model, design, and manufacture with StruxSoft. Learn more at StruxSoftSolutions.com.
I received a call early morning last February with unfathomable news that one of our employees had taken the life of his wife and his son before taking his own life. And as you can imagine, as it is right now, it was hard to comprehend. But then I kept on looping back and asking myself the same questions. Could I have said something different the last time I talked to this employee a week before that could have changed the outcome? Thank you, Dave, for inviting us to share how we've been bringing more awareness to mental health and really talk about the journey since the Windover team had a crucible moment last year. I received a call early morning last February with unfathomable news that one of our employees had taken the life of his wife and his son before taking his own life. And as you can imagine, as it is right now, it was hard to comprehend. Had so many different thoughts and emotions going through my head. First and foremost, I was thinking about how I could find the best ways to support our team that had been impacted with this. But then I kept on looping back and asking myself the same questions. Could I have said something different the last time I talked to this employee a week before that could have changed the outcome? I asked, as a leader or an organization, did we do everything to help this person get through?
And I believe we did. I really want to believe so. We try very hard to always put our people first. We're a very friendly, employee-centric organization, and we're really trying to help this individual, especially as his teammates learned of his anxiety and stress. And he was an incredibly experienced construction professional, but he was relatively new to our organization. And being new can sometimes be stressful in and of itself. Trying to learn a new culture, trying to get up to speed with people, processes, systems. And that could have been compounded with any kind of external stresses that he was experiencing as well. But we did try to help, and we provided him resources, and we expedited a leave with paid family and medical leave so that he could get treatment and get help that he needed and frankly that he wanted. And 2 days before the horrible accident, tragic incident, I received a call from him letting me know that he was in one of the best hospitals in the world getting treatment, and we were elated. We were so happy for him, we were so grateful. And then 2 days later, Stuart received that horrific phone call. And can't help but think this person, this individual, this human being, somehow slipped through the healthcare system. And I don't know why, and I guess we'll never know why.
As you can imagine, this tragedy was extremely impactful to our organization. It was our first call of action, as I mentioned before, is trying to figure out the best ways to comfort our team, but also evaluate how they were reacting to this tragedy. We knew that everyone would process this event differently, with different reaction times. So, we also knew that this would unearth other emotions and stresses that people had in their life from previous incidents. So it was extremely challenging, but we jumped into motion right away. First thing was that we reached out to all of the teammates to check in on their status and their well-being, and explain to them what had transpired, and try to make sure that we were providing the information to create the right narrative, but also be very factual about what had occurred. Then we also arranged an all-company meeting within 45 minutes, and just so we could let the whole company know about the tragic news. And then also make sure that we called everyone to watch out for their colleagues. People are going to handle this information differently, and they most certainly did. But again, it was wonderful to see how our teams really supported each other in different ways. And it wasn't just that day; it was well beyond that. And even today, and the anniversary, people handled it much differently, and very supportive. We also we were fortunate enough we had therapists that we could call right away to be able to support our teams. And we also encouraged our teams to lean into our employee assistance program. And then we had our leadership team reach out one-on-one with each employee talk to them and make sure that everyone, to do a check. It's a wellness check to see how they were handling the news and absorbing and processing it. As a little time went by, we recognized the need to take this tragic event and make positive change from this crisis. And we've always been very mindful of our employees' wellness and well-being, but this motivated us to really kind of open that aperture and look a little bit further beyond our organization. But also, because we're a construction manager, we have the opportunity on a project to interface with so many, not only workforce and our trade partners, but our design partners, our client teams. And so we felt it was a call of action to step back and try to create some good out of this horrific event.
You know, I my sympathy goes out to you and the entire team at Windover, and this is such a national, if not global, epidemic that's happening right now. And I think the awareness, especially in our industry, is so important. And the fact that you all took it a whole nother step further to put together an initiative, not only for your company, but for anybody and everybody that would like access to it to help identify some of these things. So, how did this impact how you all move forward as a company today versus the day before that happened?
Well, that's a great question, Dave, because we definitely needed a plan. We needed to equip our employees with mental health protocol, language, and tools. And we knew we couldn't go it alone. We didn't have an in-house expert that could manage all of that. So we actually contracted with Mental Health Collaborative Incorporated, which was co-founded by Executive Director Abby Rosenberg, and they helped us put this plan in place. And you'll see it on the screen now. And it's basically a one-pager we've created that goes in all our job site trailers and in our office, so that people have some guidelines, somewhat of a roadmap, some protocol. How do you start a conversation about mental health? What are the resources? When is it time to call the hotline? And so we were very fortunate that we had the help of Mental Health Collaborative working with us to put this together. And as simple as it is, it's very, very well used by our company.
So this gave us the opportunity to really look and understand, mental health, learning through the education of bringing the Mental Health Collaborative in, but also looking at the stats. And Dave, you and I have talked about this. It was eye-opening to me about suicide rates among Americans has reached a high since 1941, since World War II. And it unfortunately continues to increase. There was almost a 3% increase last year, with nearly 50,000 people taking their own lives. And that's according to the CDC, and that's provisional. That's what they know about, and what has been reported. And that's one death every 12 minutes, which is staggering. Another stat to be mindful of is that 80% of people taking their lives are male. So that's something also to consider, especially in a traditionally been a male-dominated industry in construction. So I guess it's not too much of a surprise. But the other thing that came to light is that the CDC, according to the CDC, that the construction industry, depending on what year it is and what stats, it's one or two of the highest suicide rates in any industry in this country. So, that's why we're here, and that's why we felt it was a call to action, given we've experienced this firsthand, and I'm sure there's people out there that are listening now that unfortunately have experienced it in their construction world as well. Another stat that I think brought up the last time you and I talked, which I thought was just amazing, that on average, it takes 8 to 11 years from the onset of symptoms about mental illness by the time somebody goes out and gets intervention or proper care, like 8 to 11 years. And that's just That's staggering. I mean, you think about it, we need to start thinking about mental health in the same way of our physical health. If you had diabetes, for instance, could you imagine waiting 8 to 11 years to start to deal with the symptoms? So it's just really something that's important to us that we did. It's just about the awareness.
Why do you think construction occupational suicide rate is so high?
As you know, there's a lot of stressors that come with construction and construction projects. Those stressors come from, it's very time driven, and schedules are extremely important. Minutes mean something to a completion of a project, and it's always the target of getting a project completed. So there's a lot of stresses around that. And that creates this sense of urgency and stressing and pushing that sense of urgency. Those can bring out symptoms. Just the mere fact that it's a high risk industry, always concerned about safety. You know, the workforce is always concerned about the hazards on the project site. We know that, and that's something that we're always drilling in everybody's minds, that they have to be cognizant of it. But with that adds a lot of extra stressors. And then there's also the concept of, in the construction industry, there's seasonal workforce, and they're coming and going, and all the stresses of, you know, working long days, not being near your support system or near family. Those are all things that people start to feel like that they might not have that comfort in place. So those are just some of the things that we found of why it's an issue in our industry. Why do people delay? And these are simple things that we talk about. It's around the stigma and fear of being judged, right? And if it's not being discussed, if it's not on the forefront, and if it's not something that you feel like you can be transparent and open with, that's going to be a barrier for people raising their hand or identifying or asking for help. Also, lack of knowledge, and that's why we keep on talking about awareness. Lack of knowledge about what the symptoms are. You might overlook those. And people might say, "Oh, that's not that big of a deal." Well, it is, and it can lead to more things that will make it more severe. So it's about awareness. And then the last thing is the lack of access to care and affordable care. That's a big thing. Making sure that people understand that there are programs out there that can help support them from a payment standpoint, but also where these programs are and getting the resources in front of people so they don't feel like they can't even feel like they can get up and go to work in the morning, let alone try to figure out the best care for themselves. So these are all the things about the awareness and what we've been focusing on to try to make sure that all of our people and everyone that we're interfacing with understands that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that we can all do to fight stigma and discrimination around mental illness. Up on the slide, you'll see there are some, but one that I really want to focus on is to Stuart's point about really being mental health literate, having accurate information about mental health and mental illness, but also to watching your language, how you speak about mental health. For example, oh, he's just so OCD, or she's so anorexic, or even, yeah, I need to pull the trigger on that. Those are all things that we need to be mindful. And then we also need to have the courage to speak up when others are inappropriately using language, and be able to just gently correct them and say, yeah, that's not okay to use that language here, and to stand behind it. And then finally, just being able to create safety for individuals, whether you're in the workplace or you're at home or any environment, making people feel supported and safe is critical. And then I guess I also wanted to add that we need to continue to have the conversation. Some people think that if you talk about suicide with someone, that it'll plant the seed in their head to actually do something, to hurt themselves. That's not true. In fact, it gives them the opportunity to talk and get help. And yes, it's really hard to start a conversation about mental health, but I think it's really important to remember that someone on the other side of that conversation may really be waiting for someone to ask them. And you should always ask if you feel concerned.
So that's a very good point, and that's one of the bigger shifts that we had. Obviously, we're focusing on the individuals that need support, but we're also focusing on the support mechanisms, and that's this people surrounding somebody that might be in need. And that's really you're talking about how to be a mental health ally, and so that's part of our education. It's okay to engage. You should have an open conversation, engage, as Hannah mentioned, and then listening, being present and making sure that you're allowing people to speak through how they're feeling. They need to feel validated, and that's part of the vernacular that we're trying to make sure that everyone is using when they're speaking to people. And then there's all the gently express your concern, but then here's a key one, and is be curious, not judgmental. And that there's a difference there. And when you're showing compassion, it's part of our value system, but if you're showing compassion, that's going to help people open up and get over that barrier, the stigma that may be there. We're trying to educate people on to assess those symptoms, and I'll talk a little bit about it later, but assess those symptoms and make sure if they're urgent and how critical the situation may be. And I think that the other thing is, somebody will always say, can you keep this between us?
Right.
And we're just training people to say that after you get through your conversation, it's not, I'm sorry, I can't keep, because I'm worried about you. That's a simple thing. I'm worried about you. We need to do this together. And that's been part of this education. And really, we've seen it being a huge support mechanism for our people over the past year. We're really focused in on it.
Yeah, and for sure, if you have concerns about someone, stay with them. Not only don't agree to keep it a secret, but stay with them until help can come. There are some definite warning signs, both emotional, verbal, and behavioral signs that you could look out for people who are experiencing anxiety, depression, and suicide. First, to address anxiety, some emotional signs might be excessive worrying. A verbal sign might be someone talking about feeling ashamed or inadequate, and a behavioral sign might be a panic attack. And then on the depression side, emotional signs might be mood swings, changes, and verbal signs might be talking about wanting to die, like the world would be better without them. And then a behavioral sign might be an increase in aggression, low energy, maybe not sleeping well. That was one of the issues that our employee was having, was complete sleeplessness. And that was just escalating the situation more and more.
Have you guys, since putting a plan in place, and I know you're going to help share this plan to anybody that wants it, that's watching this, but since you put your plan in place, have you seen any behavioral changes with your team members, in the office and the field?
Yeah, we absolutely have. And I think it's about a shift in the culture, about making sure there's no stigma. And, like I mentioned before, it was a crucial moment for us that people could step back and understand how important it was to be able to feel comfortable coming forward or to talking to others. And that's what I felt like, we have ways to go. We definitely do. We can definitely get better at this, but it definitely has seen a big change over the past year. And we've actually, fortunately, it might not sound fortunately, but we had 3 different individuals go out on the paid family and leave act that we're fortunate enough to have in Massachusetts, but they took advantage of that so that they could get better. And that was really important. They probably wouldn't have raised their hand. They wouldn't have felt like they felt comfortable doing that.
Yeah. I think before we started having these conversations, people just tried to stick it out and not take time away for themselves to get well again. But now that it's becoming part of the nomenclature of our culture, we are seeing people do just that, recognizing their symptoms, recognizing that they need help, recognizing that they need a break from the stress that comes along with working. And if they can do that, and we're forever grateful for our paid family and medical leave plan in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, it allows people to step away and still get paid. And what a gift.
Yeah. One of the other things that we came upon, and it's very simple, and that's why I felt it was important, and I've mentioned it to you, is the new National Suicide Prevention Line. I think so. It's 988. It's pretty simple. It's like 411 or 911. And the key here is it's not just for the individuals. That hotline is there for anybody in the support that needs support or wants tips on the support, and it's there 24/7. And it's confidential. So not only are they there to be a listener to find out what the situation might be if it's somebody who is concerned about somebody, but they're also there to provide resources, and that is key. And as I mentioned before, that's been a barrier in the past. So this is just making it a little bit simpler for people, very easy to remember. Again, they're not sending first responders when you call this. This is strictly a support line for people to support not only the person that's feeling that way or others that are witnessing it and help them.
In closing, I'd say that the trauma we experienced at our company really represents a second chance to make it better, which is one of our core values, but not only for our own employees, but for employees, employers, individuals everywhere. We hope to continue to reach people, sharing our story, and encouraging and empowering people to see something, say something, and for employers especially to feel comfortable and confident stepping in, because it will save lives. Really appreciate having us here today, Dave. We hope that we will be able to touch people in a way that they can feel empowered and energized to have these conversations and reduce stigma and just raise awareness.
Yeah, we're grateful that you had the courage to actually come on the show as individuals and as, a company that really went through a tragedy, because I think there's a lot of companies out there that have maybe experienced similar things, and everybody always feels like they're on an island by themselves. But the fact of the matter is, there is a lot of resources out there on mental health. You got the Mental Health Collaborative, right? And the following documents, and they're all going to be in the show notes as well for downloadables. There's so many resources, and there's a lot of different phone numbers depending on your situation for people to go to and to help. And as always, I encourage people to reach out to the both of you or any team member really at Wendover.
Yeah, Dave, I really appreciate this. As you know, all my presentations, including one that I had with you, I'm making this an effort to make sure that there's a little awareness. It's about education and awareness that can make a big difference. And then having other employers lean in. And it's not that big of a deal, and it's actually a huge impact. So really, really appreciate you having us on today.
Thank you.
It's super important, and I believe in it, and I think that it's a story that needs to be shared. And I can't wait to keep sharing this story throughout the year. I think we're going to just put this on recycle and play it over and over again. It's that important. So thank you both for being on with us. And for everybody else out there, just know in the notes, you can get all of these documents for free. You don't have to give us any information. We'll put a downloadable link there. Go ahead and click on it. And if you ever need help, feel free to reach out to us here at Dave Cooper Live or the team at Wendover, or use any of the numbers in that information. Thanks for watching. What an amazing show. Thank you to all of our sponsors for helping us to continue to bring all of these innovative conversations to all of you out there. Please visit them, see what they have to offer you. And as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel and ring that bell. It would mean the world to us. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks for watching.